So let's start by creating a database. So go to localhost slash phpMyAdmin, and on the left hand side click on new. Now give a name to your database. I'll give testdb and the name of your table. So let's name it test table. And how many columns do you want? Just for demonstration I'll take one. Let's name it as name, type varchar, and let's give length as 50 and save it. Now you can see the database has been created, testdb with the table named tested test table. Now let's create a web page. So go to C, XAMPP and htdocs. So this is where you will make all your websites. So let's create a new folder and name it as test. Now you can create your own website on this page also, on this directory also, but if you want to make more than one website, then all the files will be like everything will mess up. So it would be better if you will organize all the files into separate directories. So here we will create a new file. Okay, before that, so use notepad++ or you can use any text editor to code your web page. Now we'll save it as index.php, and we will save it into your XAMPP, htdocs and test directory. Now let's start coding. So if you will open localhost slash test, this will automatically load index.php folder. So let's display something into it. Start by adding the HTML tags and giving a title to our page. So you can see the name of the page is changed to test page, and we'll add a body and we'll add a text box. So you can see you can enter something in text box, but if you'll press enter, it will not submit anything. So for that you have to make a submit button. But before that, whenever you want to submit something into a web page, that should be within the form tag. So let's keep it between the form tags. So let's write something and see. Now on pressing enter, it is submitting. Now if you'll notice, the URL has been changed. There's a question mark on the top. Let's notice it again. See, so this is because the web page is accepting the data into by using get method. So if you will search something on Google, like let's search Google on Google, okay, you'll see the URL is changed, and you can also see what you have searched on the URL itself. So this is get method, that whatever the data you will enter, that will be visible in the URL. Now there are few websites, such as Facebook, where you don't have to change the URL. You can just refresh the page and the contents will be updated. That is post method. So that way it is secure, because if you are taking your user's username and password, you don't want it to be visible in the URL. So let's change the method to post method. So for that, write method equals to post, and let's load the page again. Let's write something, and you can see the URL is not changed. Now let's make a submit button. Yes, it's working. Now what you have to do is, you have whatever the data you are entering here, that should be available, that should be saved into your test table. So let's make it, so that we will do using PHP. So let's start the PHP tags. Now what you have to do is, whatever the data you are entering in the text box, you have to save that into a PHP variable. For that, we'll make a PHP variable. Just we'll name it as name equals, and the data which you are entering from the text box, like your program should understand which text box it is. So we, we will name our text box on something. Let's name it as name text box, name db, and let's take the data. So here $underscore post is an inbuilt variable using which you can get the data from this text box. Now if you are using get method, you can use $underscore get. If you're using post method, you can use $underscore post. Now let's print it. Now you will have an error, index undefined index name db something something. So I'll explain you in a minute what it is. So see, on submitting you can see your text. Initially your $name variable does not have any data into it, that's why it is showing that error. So we can add a condition: whenever you will submit, then only you can print, then only you have to save the data from the text box to your variable. So submitting a data is 1, and not submitting is 0, basically 1 and 0. So that is 1 means set, 0 means not set. So we will check whether is set $underscore post submit button. So we'll give a name to our submit button. Let's give it submit button. Okay, there's an error. Okay. Now you will see there's no error. Perfect. Now you have to save this data into your database. So first we will create a connection between your web page and your SQL database. So for that, there's an inbuilt function called mysqli connect underscore connect. So it accepts 4 variables. First variable is your server name, second is your database or your phpMyAdmin's username and password, and third is your database. So since we are working on localhost server, we will name it as localhost. And since you're not entering any username or password whenever you're opening your phpMyAdmin, your username will be root by default and there's no password. And the database to which we want to connect is testdb. Now let's save it into a variable so that we don't have to copy or write same thing again and again. Now this will connect your web page to your database. Now you have to save this data, like whatever the data you are entering into your text box, into this database. So let's write a query for it. So once the data is saved into your $name variable, let's write a query. Insert into test table values. Since it's a varchar, we will keep it within single quotation. And let's execute this query. So MySQLi query basically accepts two arguments. First is your database and second is your query. Now instead of your DB variable or query variable, you can copy this whole thing, but then if you want to write or execute more queries, you have to write this whole thing again and again. So that's why we have saved it into a variable. Now let's save it and let's load it again and write hello. Now you can see it's printing, and we'll just refresh it and see you have saved data into your database. Let's try with one more.